I was removed from the wedding party because my natural hair color ruined the aesthetic. The bride's family turned against me. I, 28F, have naturally red hair. Not orange or strawberry blonde. We're talking deep auburn that looks almost burgundy in certain lighting. I've had people ask me if I dye it my entire life, but it's just how I was born. I've always loved my hair, even when kids used to tease me about it in elementary school. My childhood friend, let's call her the bride, recently got engaged after dating her fiancé for about 3 years. We've known each other since we were 6, when my family moved in across the street from hers. We went to the same schools, had the same friend group throughout high school, and even though we went to different colleges, we've stayed close. When she called me screaming with excitement about her engagement, I was genuinely happy for her. And when she asked me to be one of her bridesmaids a week later, I was honored. She's been there for me through some rough patches. My parents' messy divorce, a particularly bad breakup 2 years ago, and I've always tried to be there for her too. The problem started during our first wedding planning brunch, about 2 months ago. The bride had selected a color scheme of lavender, sage green, and peach for her late spring wedding. Pretty standard, nothing too wild. She showed us pictures of the bridesmaid dresses, lavender floor length, with some kind of flowy design. They were actually quite nice, and I was relieved since bridesmaids often get stuck with hideous outfits. Everything seemed fine until we were finishing up mimosas, and the bride turned to me with this weird expression. "So, about your hair," she started. I thought maybe she was going to suggest a particular updo or style that would match what the other bridesmaids were doing. "What about it?" I asked. "Well, I've been thinking about the color scheme and how everything will look in photos, and I'm concerned your hair will clash with the lavender dresses." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. "I was hoping you might consider dyeing it for the wedding," she continued. "Just temporarily. Maybe a nice brown or blonde. Something that won't pull focus in the pictures." I was stunned. I've never dyed my hair in my life, and I had no intention of starting now, especially not for someone else's event. I politely told her that I wasn't comfortable with the idea. "It's just for one day," she pushed. "And it would mean a lot to me. I've been planning this wedding since I was a teenager, and I want everything to be perfect." The other bridesmaids looked uncomfortable. One of them, my friend since high school, tried to change the subject, but the bride wasn't letting it go. "It's really not a big deal," she insisted. "People change their hair color all the time. It's not like I'm asking you to cut it off." I told her I needed time to think about it, mostly to avoid causing a scene at brunch. On the way home, the high school friend texted me saying she thought the request was out of line and that I shouldn't feel pressured. Over the next week, the bride sent me links to articles about temporary hair dyes and photos of brunette models with my face shape, suggesting styles that would complement my features better than red anyway. I finally called her to have a real conversation about it. I explained that my hair is part of my identity, that I've never dyed it, and that I wasn't going to start now. I suggested compromises. Maybe I could wear my hair up with some kind of hair accessory in her wedding colors. Or maybe she could position me at the end of the bridesmaid line in photos, so my hair wouldn't be next to the lavender dresses. She did not take it well. "I can't believe you're being so selfish," she snapped. "It's my wedding day. Do you want to ruin the aesthetic I've been planning for years? This isn't about you." I stayed calm and told her I understood it was her special day, but changing my physical appearance beyond wearing the dress, doing my makeup a certain way, and styling my hair was crossing a line for me. "Fine," she said after a long pause. "Then maybe it's better if you're just a guest." I was hurt but almost relieved at that point. I told her I understood and that I'd still love to attend and celebrate her marriage, even if I wasn't standing up with her. I thought that was the end of it until the texts started coming. Not from her, but from her mother, her sister, and even her fiancé. They all said the same thing. I was being dramatic. It was a simple request. Real friends make sacrifices. I clearly didn't care about her happiness. The fiancé's message particularly surprised me, since we'd only met a handful of times and weren't close. His text said, "She's been crying for days because of you. After all she's done for you over the years, you can't do this one thing." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I reached out to our mutual friends to get some perspective. Most of them agreed the request was unreasonable, but a couple suggested I should just do it to keep the peace, since it would grow out eventually. The final straw came when I ran into the bride's mother at the grocery store. She cornered me in the produce section and told me I was tearing the bride apart with my stubbornness, and that if I were a true friend, I would stop making her wedding about my vanity. I left my cart in the aisle and walked out. When I got home, I sent the bride a long email. I detailed our friendship, acknowledged her special day, but also explained why her request felt disrespectful to me. I pointed out that none of the other bridesmaids were being asked to change their physical appearance beyond normal wedding expectations. I ended by saying I still valued our friendship, but that I would be declining the invitation to her wedding entirely, as I felt my presence would cause her stress on what should be a joyful day. Within an hour, my phone exploded with notifications. The bride had apparently started a group chat with our entire friend circle and her family, sharing selected parts of my email, and adding her own commentary about how I was abandoning her and making mountains out of molehills. Some friends tried to mediate, suggesting we all meet in person to talk it through. Others took clear sides. My high school friend stood up for me, saying the bride was being a classic bridezilla, and that hair dye isn't like asking someone to wear a specific nail polish. The bride's response? She removed both of us from the group chat and blocked us on social media. 2 days later, I received a formal, printed note rescinding my invitation to the wedding. It felt oddly official, like she'd gone out of her way to make it hurt. I was pretty devastated. 22 years of friendship, apparently worth less than color-coordinated wedding photos. Several weeks passed with no contact. The mutual friends who were still bridesmaids occasionally updated me. Apparently, the bride had replaced me with a cousin who, surprise, had blonde hair. About a month before the wedding, I received a text from an unknown number. It was the bride's fiancé. He asked if we could meet for coffee the next day. Against my better judgment, I agreed. At the coffee shop, he seemed uncomfortable and kept checking his phone. Finally, he admitted the bride didn't know he was meeting me. She's been different since this whole thing started, he said. Obsessive about every tiny wedding detail. She fired the florist yesterday because the sample arrangement had a slightly different shade of peach than she wanted. He looked genuinely worried. I love her, but I've never seen this side of her before. She cries over napkin folding techniques. She screamed at her mother for suggesting a different cake flavor. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated that it wasn't just me, but I also felt sad for my old friend. This didn't sound like the person I'd grown up with. I don't know what you want me to do, I told him honestly. He sighed. Neither do I. I guess I thought you might have insight since you've known her longer. Has she always been like this about getting her way? I thought about it. No, not really. She could be stubborn sometimes, but nothing like this. Has she been under extra stress lately? Beyond the wedding? He nodded slowly. Her company has been going through layoffs. Her position is probably safe, but it's been tense. And her parents have been fighting about wedding costs. We talked for nearly an hour. Before leaving, he asked if I would consider reaching out to her one more time. Not about being in the wedding, he clarified. Just as her friend. I think she might be spiraling and too proud to admit it. I said I'd think about it. On the way home, I felt conflicted. The rational part of me said to stay away from the drama. The part that remembered building tree forts and sharing secrets with this woman for over 2 decades couldn't just write her off. The next day, I sent her a simple text. Hey, no wedding talk. Want to get ice cream at our old spot on Saturday? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Why? Because despite everything, I miss my friend. No response for hours. Then, just before midnight. Fine. 2 p.m. Our old spot was an ice cream parlor halfway between our childhood homes. We'd spent countless summer afternoons there as kids, teenagers, and occasionally as adults when we needed a dose of nostalgia. I arrived early and claimed our usual corner booth. When she walked in, I was shocked by how tired she looked. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back carelessly. This from someone who'd never left the house without perfectly applied mascara since 9th grade. She sat down without a greeting. We ordered chocolate chip cookie dough for her, mint chocolate chip for me, same as always. So, she said finally, you wanted to talk. Talk. I took a deep breath. I'm not here to argue about the wedding. I just wanted to check in. You don't seem like yourself lately. She stared at her ice cream. You don't get to ghost me for weeks and then pretend you know what I'm like anymore. I didn't ghost you. You uninvited me from your wedding and blocked me on everything. She shrugged, but I could see her eyes watering. Whatever. Everything's fine. Wedding planning is stressful. Everyone says so. Is it just the wedding? I asked gently. That's when she broke. Tears spilled over as she told me about the layoffs at work, about how her mother and father were fighting constantly, about how her future mother-in-law had hijacked half the wedding decisions. She admitted she'd been having panic attacks in the middle of the night, worrying that everything would fall apart. And then there was your hair, she said, wiping her eyes. It was the one thing I thought I could control. One small thing to make the pictures perfect. And when you said no, it felt like even that was spinning away from me. I reached across the table and took her hand. I get it. Well, I don't get the hair thing specifically, but I understand feeling like everything's chaotic. She laughed a little. Yeah, the hair thing was crazy. I know that now. I think I actually went temporarily insane for a while there. We talked for hours, clearing the air about the wedding but also catching up on everything else. By the time we left the ice cream parlor, things weren't completely fixed, but they were better. I can't put you back in the wedding party, she said as we walked to our cars. The dresses are ordered, the cousin already paid for alterations, and frankly, I'm too embarrassed to explain to everyone why I changed my mind again. That's okay, I assured her. I'm happy to just be a guest. She hugged me before we parted ways. Your hair really is beautiful, you know. I was being a monster. The wedding itself was lovely. The lavender dresses did indeed clash a bit with my hair, even from my seat in the back of the guest section. But nobody seemed to care. The bride looked radiant and genuinely happy. At the reception, she found me at the bar and dragged me onto the dance floor for one song, just like we used to do at high school dances. Her cousin with the blonde hair gave me a curious look, but smiled when the bride introduced us. Your hair is gorgeous, the cousin said. I've tried to dye mine that color, but it never comes out right. The bride and I caught each other's eyes and burst out laughing, drawing confused looks from everyone around us. Our friendship isn't quite the same as it was before. There's a new awareness of our boundaries and a carefulness that wasn't necessary in our younger years. But there's also a deeper understanding of each other as complex adults, rather than just the childhood friends we'd always seen each other as. A few months after the wedding, I helped the bride, now wife, pack up her apartment to move into a new house with her husband. As we sorted through old yearbooks and photo albums, she suddenly turned to me. I'm really glad you didn't dye your hair, she said. It wouldn't have been you in those photos if you had. Me too, I said, handing her another box to tape up. Though I still think your color scheme was doomed from the start. Lavender and peach? Really? She threw a wadded-up piece of newspaper at my head, and just like that, we were us again. So, was I wrong to refuse to dye my hair for her wedding? Maybe some would still say yes. But I think we both learned something important about friendship, identity, and the temporary insanity that apparently overtakes otherwise rational people during wedding planning. And my hair is still gloriously, stubbornly red. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.